Okay, you're going to be drawing a sphere, and you're going to start that by drawing a circle. Circle the lines on the page in the air before you actually make your mark. So you see how I circled my pencil in the air first and then kind of touched down? That's going to help you get an accurate circle. And I'm holding my pencil at sort of the middle and leaning it on the side to have a nice loose grip, not holding it super tight. I'm shading over my circle with a little bit of light value, and I'm using a light pencil, like a hard one. I think it's a 2H or a 3H. It doesn't matter, you can pick either one. And now I'm looking at the lines that I sketched in that look the most circular, and I'm making them more emphasized. You've got to sort of tease out the best lines, because when you sketched in that circle at first, you're kind of eyeballing it, right? Keeping it nice and loose, because you have time later to go in and make it more precise. That's what drawing is. You're kind of honing in on what's accurate from more sketchy lines underneath. You can't expect to just get it perfect, draw a perfect circle right off the bat. I mean, maybe some people can. I actually had a geometry teacher who could. He could draw a perfect circle on the chalkboard just right off the bat, but that's not most humans. So I'm shading in and I'm emphasizing the lines that I see that look most accurate. Shading in, I'm doing a mix of shading where my pencil's sort of not leaving the page at all. I'm using the side of my pencil, not the tip. And I'm also doing some cross-hatching lines where my pencil is actually leaving the page, making those little lines that go in one direction and then go in the other direction. Okay, this is a critical step. You need to decide for any three-dimensional style drawing where the light is coming from. In this assignment, you are going to make a pretend light source because we're not drawing a real thing right now. We're just learning the technique of how to render form or show form. So I've decided the light is in the upper right corner, and that means that the part of the sphere closest to the light is, you can guess, going to be the brightest or the whitest. The part of the sphere that's farthest away from that light source is going to be the darkest because it's not hitting, the light's not hitting it in that place, just like the moon, right? So what I'm doing is starting to darken slowly the opposite side away from the light source. Again, you can draw the light source in the upper right, the upper left, whatever. Okay, there's the pencil I used, the 3H, to do all of that, but you are going to incorporate more pencils than one to get this done right. So I'm adding in a increasingly darker graphite. This is the B, so it's kind of middle. And I'm just shading in with a light hand the opposite side away from the light source. And I'm not filling in on top the part that's closest to the light. And you're going to keep pulling away some highlights later, so don't worry that it looks kind of gray right now. The goal is to progressively build up the darkness. All right, and we're going to keep going and keep adding in a little bit darker shading on just one side, following the lines that you kind of honed in on as being the most accurate lines. Drawing takes a lot of slowed attention. You have to really slow down and focus on the connection your hand is making to the page, which has everything to do with the control of your mind. Hopefully you are drawing along with me right now, or watching it first, just straight, and then following along with me. You see how I keep moving my pencil direction? That's going to help with the smoothness. I don't just go one way. I really keep turning it left, right, diagonal. And that's going to help with the smoothness, and it's going to help start to give a sense of form. I'm kind of mimicking the circular shape with my shading. I'm kind of going in like a ring formation when I shade. And you can see it's starting to have a little bit of a highlight on the top there. And again, don't worry, we're going to go in and make that highlight even lighter using the eraser. So don't worry about it now that it looks gray. As I said, you're going to be using increasingly darker pencils to really push the values that are possible. So I started with the 3H, I added in shading with a B, and now I've gone the other way, I've got the 3B, so getting increasingly blacker with the graphite. And you're going to see that I just keep adding that value on the left side, and then I pull out some highlights with my eraser on the top side. You'll see it in a second. And I also add a horizon line and a shadow. So I do the shadow by drawing one of those ellipse forms that you practiced in your warm-ups, the kind of elongated circle, oval shape. And I lined it up so it met the bottom of that circle or sphere, and just did the left side. So I drew the left side of an ellipse, kind of as even as possible, and then I filled it in with diffuse graphite, so kind of shaded graphite. I used a darker pencil, and I pulled out a tiny little highlight you can see right next to the left side of the sphere. But I also used the smudging stick to make the shadow a little bit lighter, more diffuse. This is not a hard edge lighting environment. You might be in one at some point with hard shadows, but pretend that you are in a diffused lighting scenario to get a nice soft shadow. And of course the horizon line just gives us a sense that this form that you've invented is actually in space somewhere. It's not just floating, and it gives it a place to land. You can guess where you want to put your horizon. In this case, you're not drawing a real thing. If you were actually putting an object on a table, you'd want to look and see where the table falls behind your form. I also smudged the edge of the horizon just to give it a little bit of a softer, soft look, and pulled out my highlights. And now I'm just showing you how I went in and erased highlights out of the top of that sphere and kind of went in with a very light pencil to kind of reiterate the top line, but not too dark. So that's about it. That's the sphere, and you're going to be doing your own in a few different sizes. Please read the assignment and ask me any questions you have. Okay, good luck.